It's Pete from howtoanalysts.com. You're here because you want to know how to create a pivot table in Microsoft Excel. So let's jump right into it. Today, in this video, we have some sample data from a manufacturing company. And in this data, we have product ID, product category, region, revenue, cost, sold date. And if you want a copy of this data, just click on the link in the description. So what a pivot table lets us do is take all of this data and extract insights from it pretty easily. And in this example, we're going to use a pivot table to find the product category in Brazil with the most revenue in 2017. So to start, click on the Insert tab and select Pivot Table. And in this example, Excel is going to automatically select the range of cells that we want to pivot. If your data is not quite as well organized, you might have to manually highlight the range of cells that you want to pivot. Moving down, Excel is going to ask you whether you want the pivot table in a new worksheet or in an existing worksheet. We want it in a new worksheet, and so let's click OK. So now we have a blank pivot table, and we're going to start populating it with data. You'll notice on the right side of this worksheet is the pivot table field list. And these fields should look familiar. They're the same fields that we walked through in the raw data tab. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the rows section. And anything that you drag into the rows section, your pivot table is going to display in rows. So in this example, we're going to click on product category, we're going to drag it to rows, and your pivot table is going to display those product categories in rows. Moving on to the column section, we want sold date in the column section. So we're going to click on sell date, we're going to drag it to columns. Anything you drag into the column section, pivot table will display in columns. Now Excel is going to automatically list every single individual day, but we can group these days into a year by right-clicking, clicking on Group, and selecting Years. Excel automatically groups those individual days into years. Moving on to the Values section, the Values section works well with numerical values. So we're going to click on Revenue and drag it to the Values section, and we're going to format it to look like currency. And you'll notice that Excel in your pivot table is going to automatically sum that revenue. And in addition to summing, you can click on this arrow and go to Value Field Settings. And there's other options. You can sum the data, you can count it, you can average it, you can max, you can min. In this example, we're going to just keep it with sum. So moving on to the last box, the filters box. The filters box lets you drag one of your fields into the filters box and filter on a specific piece of data, not the entire data. So let's drag region into filters. Then we're going to click on this drop-down arrow. We're only going to select Brazil because back to our original question, that's what we're looking for. So now we're looking at revenue for product categories in Brazil. Now what we wanted was the product category with the highest revenue. So let's right click on 2017's revenue, go to sort, and select largest to smallest. Now we can see that the hammer has the highest revenue of any product category in 2017 in Brazil. So that's how you create a pivot table in Microsoft Excel and populate it with data. If you want a set of practice data, click on the link in the description below, and thanks for tuning in.